Well, All Nations Church was planted by two sisters during the Second World War, right near the end of the Second World War. They were fresh out of Bible school, and the Bible school principal sent them to Wolverhampton. I think at the time the Bible school was in London. These girls were originally, sisters were from Yorkshire, Keighley. And so when they finished Bible school, they used their bicycles, cycled all the way back home to Yorkshire, and then they cycled after a few days back down towards Wolverhampton, and this was their mission field, to plant a church in Wolverhampton. We're currently right here in the city centre, but at the time they came to a place called Horsley Fields, which is about a mile away from here. It's close to the city centre. They rented a shop front, and the church originally started by ministry to some of the poor children in that area. And I met one of the sisters back in 2003 when I became the pastor here in 2001. One of the things I felt the Lord saying was to bring those sisters, one of them was still alive, to honor the past and to meet with her. And she tells me stories back then that at the time when they came, there was such poverty. Kids were running around the streets with no shoes on, no socks on, very dirty. And so they opened up a shop front. They would feed those kids, clean those kids where they could. They're trying to help them materially, but they would teach them about Christ. So those are the very early, humble beginnings. We're now here, and we've built a few buildings since that time. We've expanded, we've planted churches, and we also have something called the All Nations Movement. That's part of what we do now as well, which is a family of churches around the UK and around the globe. But not just a family of churches, it's a family of movements. So people leading families of churches are part of that relational network that we have. Wolverhampton's an old city. It actually became a city in the early 2000s. It used to be a town. Historically, it's part of the larger Black Country that incorporates Walsall and Birmingham and Dudley, parts of those areas. It was a place of industry. Obviously, since that time, a lot of the industry has left the area. And so one of my friends described it as Wolverhampton's a beautifully humble place. He didn't want to use the word deprived. And I guess there's some need in the city. There's beautiful, earthy people, but there's been a lot of exodus of that industry. And so there's challenges. There was a proposed mega retail expansion that was supposed to happen 2003 to 2008-9, and in the city centre lots of people vacated, lots of premises were bought out, and then the crash happened in 2008, which had a detrimental effect on the city. And so we're in need of rejuvenation. There's some of that has begun. There's more than 40,000 people in our city, more than 60 languages spoken here. And we have a university. So we feel there's a great opportunity for the gospel. And within All Nations, that multicultural nature of the church and the city is reflected. On our staff team, we've got Zimbabwean, Indian, Malaysian, English, German. I'm probably missing some right now, but there's a real diverse mix. Same with our trustees and same with our leadership team. There's a real diversity of cultures, mixed marriages, people who are in jobs that are pretty high up, or entrepreneurs or business owners, and those who are just getting back into work after maybe difficulties in their life. So real diversity amongst us in our church and in the city itself. It's interesting, people said, why are you remodeling the building? We have a building that can seat about 750, 800 people. It's got a phenomenal foyer and it had a mezzanine. And now we have built rooms out on that mezzanine. The foyer has a fully functioning cafe that's open every day, multi-purpose rooms. And the whole purpose is, can we be open 7 days a week to serve our community? So just yesterday, one of the applications for somebody who wants to be in here weekly with about 100 needy people to run a sanctuary in Wolverhampton. They had a building that they were leasing. It kind of fell through for them, and they're asking, could we come and use your building? And so it's a great opportunity to be able to do that. We've had jobs clubs running in here for the last 2 years. with a company that has a contract with the Job Centre, and they just help people get back into work. They've had as many as 80 people on one of their courses and as low as 10 or 12 people on a course, and they will come and use our building to be able to facilitate some of that, and that's a long-term ongoing contract. But we wanted to make the building better. They just had lots of open spaces, and sometimes it wasn't very conducive for what they needed, and if they're in the space we couldn't be or somebody else couldn't. Now we have purpose-built rooms that they can be in a space that's more designed for the amount of people they may have. It's also been interesting over the last few weeks, the amount of Christian organisations around the UK that are asking to use our building for a conference. There's something called the Send happening here, which will be it's actually going to happen at Wembley, but the training of leaders and the casting of vision, we've been privileged to have them host an event for UK leaders here in our building. And that I can mention a few of the names, and large evangelistic ministries are like next year going to use the place for training in a school, and so we're excited by all of that. And then we're using it ourselves for equipping, for training, for large gatherings, small gatherings. We have a 24/7 prayer hub running from this facility as well. And so we're right at the beginning of saying, Lord, help us to get the building active. And so busy all the time, lots of people in and out. We want it to be a hub of activity that serves our city and a hub of activity that serves the wider church. We've been very thankful to be able to partner with Stewardship to make possible by providing a mortgage for us and to be able to get done what we've done in our most recent remodeling and refurbishment of the building, creating the new rooms, putting a new heating system in. Some of those rooms are soundproof, some of them have air conditioning in. So we've really valued Stewardship providing the mortgage to enable us to do that. And I guess from my perspective, I would rather we loan money from a Christian organisation and the money gets ploughed back into kingdom work, as opposed to just, I don't think it necessarily matters too much, but for us, we were really thrilled to be able to have that relationship with Stewardship and to build on it in the days to come as well. So we found them easy to work with. They're thorough, they're very professional, but they were also very gracious to work with us and kind to allow us to be one of their clients. There's numerous kinds of social projects going on to demonstrate the love of Christ, and at the same time we have people out on the streets sharing the gospel, leading people to Christ, training people in how to share the gospel, training our home churches in how they should be gospel orientated. Not all of that is always successful. You go out, you share the gospel and you get rebuffed. Sometimes you go out, you share the gospel and somebody comes in to the kingdom. And so there's both a spiritual progression of the work and a more of a practical, but it's still spiritual progression of the work going on as well. Numerous stories of people giving their lives to Christ. And stories of great conversations and helping individuals in their journey, maybe through their marriage. And over the last 2 or 3 months, a number of marriages that have been going through difficult times, just going through some counselling and training and coming out the other end feeling much more hope and reconciliation for where they're at. So the stories are really diverse. They belong to the people who are living them. And they're not centrally organised necessarily projects. They're people out there helping and serving the community. We want to do as much as we can away from the centre.